It is selfish. We gotta evolve in and out of some things, right? Like, you trying to stay in that shell, you will not be the butterfly. But
Oof.
right? But what we don't talk about is it is actually ugly inside of that chrysalis where the caterpillar is trying to become. That's not easy. It's a mess.
Hey, love, come in. Put your bag down. Welcome to Put Your Bag Down, a soft retreat for the strong friend. And today's episode is Selfish is Not a Sin. Now, I know selfish means choosing oneself at the expense or harm or destruction of someone else and not caring about other people at all. But here's the thing. Sometimes choosing me and my well-being won't actually harm you. Make you uncomfortable, inconvenienced, unhappy, maybe. But harmed? No. It's time to deprogram guilt, reclaim boundaries, and put the right emphasis on the right syllable. It's time to be about ourself-ish. And joining me today is truly someone who broke the mold. Jovian Zayne is the CEO and founder of the On Purpose movement. She's an international speaker, a certified leadership coach, an expert facilitator. She is the author of the upcoming and soon to be New York Times bestselling book, Soft Landings for Hard Days. She is sunshine in sneakers, and she is joy personified. Welcome, Jovian. Thank you.
I'm just gonna hold that right here. Ooh, Asante, that was so great. Oh my gosh. What a wonderful way to land into this space. Thank you for ushering me in by reflecting me back to me. I just love you. I'm so glad to be here.
You truly are. Like every time I see you, I can't help, like my face can't help but smile. Like you are truly just a beautiful human. And so I thought you would be the perfect person to talk about that because you and I have had conversations around, being the strong friend, the fixer, the go-to, the one that holds it all, the one that has it all together. And the moment we need a break before we can even set a boundary for other people, we feel guilty about saying, I need to pause. We feel guilty about the no. We feel selfish. And so I really want us to unpack what that means, what that feels like, because there are a lot of women and a lot of people actually that can relate to what we're talking about. And so my first question for you is, when were you first introduced to what it means to be selfish? And how did it shape your relationships?
Yes. I believe I was first introduced likely in my home. I am in the middle of two brothers and but the only girl among our sibling crew. And there was, I remember growing up, we'd be lucky if we got chicken that was, from like KFC. Typically it was from Hardee's, which we came to hate. But anyway, but bless my parents for picking us up after school with all of our activities and everything. And sometimes there would just not be time to cook, of course. So we'd have chicken and it would be a huge discussion over who would get the breast. Like who was going to get the biggest piece of chicken. Obviously my dad was going to get one. My mom, I think, was doing wings and maybe drumsticks, but it was who's going to get the breast. And there was conversation around not being selfish. Don't always want the best for yourself. I remember that. I also remember in church, whether it was through actual scriptures coming from the Bible, because this, I believe, but for those who don't know, I am the granddaughter of not one, but two Baptist pastors. Both of my parents, are direct preachers' kids. My mom is now an ordained minister. So I grew up very heavily steeped within the Black church in a very, I think, a lot of ways positive, liberating, but yet at the same time, given our context in the South, the American South, there was identity politics we wrestled with. There were aspects, I think, of the church that we now, I think in my generation, our generation, our understanding, have in some ways held us back. In the church, there was a beautiful understanding and idea of Christ as an example to give and to look to the least of these and to not think about yourself first. So that was good, yes. And also, I think what I also saw mirrored were how people interpreted that to be, particularly women, as almost like martyrdom. Like you don't have anything left to the point that you are physically ill and or you're locking up the church. You're the last one to go. And so I now am constantly unpacking what I've understood to be representations of being selfless as truly people having no either sense of self or nothing else for themselves.
Mhm.
So those were some early kind of ways
Mhm.
that I've understood it. And
Mhm.
generally, I would just say, Asante, that like, girl, the idea of selfish meant you were bad. Like it was a sin to be selfish. It's pejorative. There's nothing about it, that seemed to be good.
Mm, okay. So a couple things. We're gonna pause for a quick second. Ashante.
I said Asante, didn't I? Let's rewind.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Because everything you said up until the I was like, all right, we're good. We got it. But I do want to lean into
We'll be able to edit, right?
yeah, yeah. We can edit that out. You're good. It was at the
Ashante,
very
I'm
end.
so sorry.
It was at the very end.
Let's
You're
not act like I don't know who you are and that we are not good friends.
that's why I laughed. You good, boo. You good. You good. You good. You good. But I do we're gonna bring you back for the other episode around perfectionism because we're both like, Virgos, love it.
So bad.
Yes. But no, I love what you named around the well intentions of not being selfish,
Yeah.
but the way it's explained to us isn't incorrect, but it's often incomplete. And so it puts us in this binary of you're either selfish or you're self-sacrificing. And there's no space in between to hold yourself. There's no space in between to choose yourself.
Yeah.
And if we're honest, the pieces we don't talk about often, I mean, if we're going to get into the Bible with our Bible girlies, when Jesus was first like, okay, let's do this thing, he went out into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. He's like, I have to actually go get away. Jesus took a retreat. It wasn't one I think he absolutely loved, but Jesus got away for a little bit so
Yeah.
he could ground himself, so he could
Mhm.
set himself. And so that is a true first point of like choosing yourself and pouring from a cup that's overflowing. But
Mm.
we do have this space, to your point, especially women, where we jump so quickly into this martyrdom because being labeled selfish or being called selfish is just like a scarlet letter. It is the worst thing that you can be called. And I
Yeah.
think to your point, it's because we are working to be good because we innately think we might be bad.
Mm. Yeah, I think there's something there, this like we need to be healed from something. And depending again your spiritual context that could really resonate. I mean, I think
Mhm.
growing up in the context that I did in my faith there was like an early wrestling with my flesh is bad. Like it is
Mhm.
sinful. It's inclined to hurt people. It's inclined to take from you, to want to do bad things. And so I do need to be healed from that. And like this distancing, it's hard to fall in love with yourself when you're told early that yourself is a problem in some ways. And at the same time, you're wrestling with this understanding that you get or a belief that you want to hold that, but God is love and I was made as a reflection of God's love. And so that can't be bad, right? Like that's not a terrible thing, but I think we're both hitting it. Like it's almost like we need to reclaim the concept of selfish, which I love the way you broke that down. Like Ashante, that
Mhm.
was so good, like that break. But it's like we need to reclaim that concept to understand that there is goodness here and
Mhm.
that we need to protect the goodness that's here. And without knowing how to create the boundaries to protect and to really get to know oneself, how could you be in a place to overflow and to give from it?
Exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Words mean things. We know that words mean things, but people contort it and shift it and change it. And we're not saying there aren't some selfish people out there. By definition, selfish means choosing yourself at the harm, expense, and destruction of someone else.
Yeah, the lack.
Well,
Hmm.
right, that lack space. What we're talking about is when most people use selfish, they weaponize it because you are setting a boundary for yourself. And so
Hmm.
you are no longer available, you are no longer convenient to, and you are no longer in service of someone like you used to be in a way where that caused them or that created joy for them, but caused self abandonment for you.
Harm for you. Yeah.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious talk to me a little bit about how you've navigated and moved through that journey to get to a place where you can be about yourself ish.
I'm I mean, I'm for real. I love self-ish. I think it has been a journey and it will continue to be a journey. I'll be honest. I'm in a very, I think, present state with redefining new boundaries for myself within this season of motherhood and parenthood and partnership. My husband and I will both admit that our family shared calendar can be a source of angst at times because I think we both struggle to not feel truly selfish in the pejorative way when we want to put something down on the calendar that is separate and apart from each other or our family. And it's hard to not really try to itemize the hours in the day because never in my life have I felt so clear around how much time there is in a day. Because my time when Georgie is at school, our daughter, feels like it's constantly ticking down. How much time do I have left to write? How much time do I have to complete all the things that I want to do before we go get her from school or before, he brings her home? And then our day becomes time spent with her, really, or collectively, what do we do? And so it's been a challenge, honestly, to constantly redefine what new boundaries I need to establish. But one thing I've learned is this: you cannot get what you need if you're not willing to identify it first for yourself. So I have to be honest with me so then I can get the soft landing I need. When I'm honest about my needs, then I can work up to a place of courage of expressing those needs to those around me who've availed themselves, who I now consider to be safe places for me to go get my needs met. Doesn't mean they'll always be able to meet every single one of them, but I know that there are people in my life that God has entrusted to me for this season. So I was the one who was in my way of getting a softer landing because I wasn't telling my husband, listen, I will not be doing any more dishes after 8:00. I needed to put the boundary up so I would not feel selfish about not doing a part in our home that I had always ascribed to. I care about having a really clean home. But what I recognize, one of the most important boundaries I have set and established for myself in the year of our Lord 2025 is after 8:00, it ain't no more housework unless I want to do it. I don't care if you got people coming over. Unless I want to do it, I will not do it. Why? Because after that time, I am tired. My body's tired and it's telling me it wants to wind down. I got to slow down then. And I don't need to do things that I feel obligated to do versus things that I want to do after that time on the clock. So that's the way that I've redefined our shared calendar in that way, the way I've processed time, and at least giving myself a boundary around how I engage with work that I've ascribed for myself to do, even housework.
What I'm hearing you say is I love how you said, I have obligations that I'm not going to obligate myself to something after this time period. And so even in setting certain rules for yourself, you are giving yourself grace in the midst of those rules. You're giving them space to breathe, which we don't do.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we have to honor the seasons of our life. Things change because we change and our needs change according to that. Our desires change. The things that we want to show up for look differently. Jovian 2 years ago, not two, that's tough, but let's say 4 or 5 years ago, pre-Georgie, I had more space, mental and physical capacity to engage even in housework in the way that I do now. I obligated myself to that because I like the way a house to be. I also was raised a certain way with that. So I'm deprogramming in some ways that I recognize all of these household tasks don't need to be mine. I can put some down for this season of life. But I first need to assess what are the obligations I've signed up for and what are the things that I can say, sure, I will feel obligated to that, but I also won't be so rigid in it that I have no grace to give to myself. So when I say I'm not going to do this now because it's not serving me to be in a place of having full capacity for the stuff we really need to do, talk, George, me and you, connect, be ready to be intimate, like legit, the things that energize me. Doing dishes isn't about to get me ready to lay it down and bust it wide. It's not. So not the thing. Dawn is not going to hype me up. No. But so I need to be giving myself grace to reorient myself to my own obligations and certainly to any obligations people would have of me too.
I love this. Also, shout out to Dawn isn't going to do it.
Baby, that ain't the kind of lather I need. Thanks.
That's not the kind of lather I need in my life.
Hello.
Woo! This is not the friction we're looking for. So,
Yeah.
so
I'm saying no, we being real over here.
we're being real. Look, this is put your bag down, get on the couch, and talk about the things.
Listen, my bag
But
is
one of the
down.
things that you named though was you identified what your needs were. Oftentimes, to your point,
Yeah.
like you were naming before, we don't even know what our actual needs are in order to start setting the boundaries around how to protect them. And so for someone who's in the beginning of their journey and just figuring out, like they're listening to this and they're like, well, I don't even know what I need. I want you to say a little bit about how people can just start the process of identifying that. And keep in mind, for all my fellow type A and recovering perfectionists, you're not going to identify all your needs in this podcast, not in this episode, not in this episode.
No, we don't even want you to do that. Think about this as an invitation to begin. That's it. And we're always beginning again. I talked to a friend, Angel, just yesterday, and she said something really beautifully, just like, we're all doing life for the first time. We are, as far as we know, this is our first time doing it. And so we're constantly beginning again. This invitation to explore your needs could look like this. First of all, I invite you to just slow down with oneself. Truly, at any point in your day when you feel yourself hurried, here's some signs you may want to slow down. You're clenching your fist, your chest feels tight, heart's beating faster, shallow breath. Maybe your stomach feels tight or just kind of wobbly on the other side of that. You may want to respond to your body in a way that says, hey, we are actually safe. Let's slow down. Because your body, when it's responding that way, it's typically giving you an indication that it's getting ready to respond in a fight, flight, freeze, or flop way, like you're reacting to some kind of stress. And so to get yourself to a place of regulating, so you could really access that prefrontal cortex. Yeah, your prefrontal cortex. You want to get that back online when you're feeling stressed. And that's important because that's where you can access logic and empathy and grace and compassion and reasoning. And that's how you can better access and understand the real answers to what is it that I need. So first, I invite you just to breathe, settle into a comfortable position for yourself. You could take all that time, really, to deep breathe and just be at ease with yourself. Because you're telling yourself, I trust you with whatever you're going to give me right now. With whatever comes forward, I will trust that it's the truth. Okay, so start with the breath first. Start with that ease, settling in, and then say, in whatever language feels accessible to you. I would say to Jovian, hey, babe, I'm with you. What do you need right now? What would feel good? That language, what do you need and what would feel good? I translate for Jovian to an invitation to be calm. Because good and calm to me are here often. So that, like, what would feel good? What would make me be more at ease right now? Okay. So that would be my very first invitation for anyone who's like, how do I access my needs? Start with that question. What would feel good? What do I need? Your need also, lastly, I'll give this. If somebody wants to go to a 2.0, I want you to think about the version of yourself or the part of you that imagines doing the thing, whatever that thing is, getting rest. Maybe it's having a challenging conversation. There's just so many things, right? Think about that person and say, okay, what's one step that would help you get to that one step? Whatever that one step is, it may be reflecting a need you have in that precious moment in time. Okay. Just that one step.
We're just going to pause for a second. I just want that to sink in. Matter of fact, go rewind the podcast right now. Go rewind it, play it slower, and re-listen to what she said. Because that's real. If you take nothing else from today's show, give yourself that permission. Choose yourself.
Yeah.
So just take a pause. And even if you can't in this moment because you're driving or, you're somewhere, you're on the subway in New York and you got to keep your eyes open. I get it. But just take a deep breath. Just take a moment, take a deep breath in and out because you needed to hear that. You might need to hear it a couple more times. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
It's
that.
good. Of course.
Thank you for
Of
that.
course. Yeah.
Because I wanted that to have the space that it needed to just,
Yeah.
that I think we hear a good thing. We're like, oh, that's good. Now I want to talk about, I'm like, no, I need y'all to sit with that. Because if we don't get
Right.
anything else, then you get to ask yourself what you need. Because you know who knows you. I promise you do. It may take a while to hear it, but you do.
But you do. And like most things, it takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
The more that you give yourself the honest space to answer, the more you will begin to trust the answers.
Mm, that's so real.
Yeah.
That's
So
so real.
you have to give yourself time to trust yourself again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not something that we are all easily programmed or muscled into. So you have to give yourself the space to do it.
And here's the thing, when we don't start that process, we often grade people by the rubric of our self-sacrifice. And so that may also be why we get so offended when someone calls us selfish, or when we ask for things for people and they hold their boundaries, we call them selfish. It's like, are they actually being selfish, or are
Right.
they just setting a boundary that you refuse to set for yourself?
Yeah.
But it's because those people thought about what they needed in the moment.
Yeah.
And we can't, and I've had to learn, if we're gonna be real, the reason I jumped into this particular topic and started to explore it was because I found myself calling people that I care about selfish, and I know they're not, but they weren't doing something that I needed them to do. And I
Yeah.
had to take a step back and be like, well, all they're doing is the thing that they need to do for them. Why are you so upset about that? And
Yeah.
if I was honest, it was because they're not being self-sacrificing like I am. Oh, shoot.
Right.
Dang it.
Right.
Because how
Right.
dare they choose them? I don't choose me. Why do they get to
Right.
choose them? They're like, you do get
Right.
to choose you.
You do. You do. It's just it's so countercultural to how many of us have understood that we are to be together. It's like we
Mhm.
really have to begin to blow up the entire system of the way that we think that we're supposed to relate to one another.
Mhm.
There is, I think, yet we don't always see it. So it really takes a lot of work to create it. But I think what we're talking about is how do we create relationships where we see and honor each other in constant evolution, which requires us to constantly be open to communicating. It takes vulnerability. It takes self work and like self reflection, self awareness, self regulation. It takes a higher level overall of emotional intelligence than I think that we as a society have supported us all to have. But
Mhm.
this is at essence, that's what I am absolutely recognizing in the the crux of our conversation, because it does feel like an affront when someone's like, nah girl, I can't go. But why? We've always done happy hour after work. What you mean? Like, I was planning to go and vent to you, so now I
Mhm.
can't. What am I supposed to do now? Because you want to
Oh,
go study for the LSAT, or because you want to go to sleep,
right.
girl?
But what am I supposed to do now? Go care for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get it, because
There are
many of
other
us,
ways.
especially Black women, let's call it what it is, especially Black women, were parentified very young. And so a lot of times
Yeah.
we are using our partners, we are using our intimate friendships with our girlfriends to fill that gap. We want them to be the nurturers that our mother wounds and our
Mhm.
father wounds are craving. And that's not
Mhm.
their job. That's not
Wow.
their role. And it isn't fair that you didn't get that, but the people who are in your life now are not supposed to be your mama or your daddy.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's hard to lean into. And it, depending on the season, you may get grown me, may get 6-year-old me, and Shawnee may pop in real quick and be like, "Oh, okay,
What is 6-year-old Shawnee doing? I gotta know. You
man, look, it depends on the moment. She can be ride or die, or she can be on the floor in a full-on
you
tantrum."
said you don't know. Okay. Woo. Yeah. Let me find out. Okay.
Look, 6-year-old, this is why we didn't become friends till we were older,
Yeah.
because 6-year-old us would have, whew, good times, good times. But I like, can you imagine? I'd love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. So something I want us to, you're still giggling about it because you're
I
like,
am. Let
ooh,
me just
fun times. Like in our little Oshkosh Bagosh overalls.
so cute. So
Just out
cute.
here like, who did it? I don't even know what you're talking about. We're not snitching.
Okay, go ahead. Go stop, stop,
All
stop.
right. So you spoke to something earlier that I want us to lean into now,
Mhm.
because again, words mean things. And so I'm curious about if you could rewrite the definition of selfish based
Ooh,
on your own healing and not survival, what would that definition sound like?
you said not survival.
If you could rewrite the definition of selfish based on your own healing and not survival, what would that say?
I think it would say something like selfish, to honor one's needs in authentic and revelatory ways. It would just be that.
This is why she gonna be a New York Times bestseller, y'all. Just that right there, because I didn't even have an answer for that one. I was like, she got that. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So if we reclaim that word, because what you're speaking about is like, if we reclaim the word selfish as a way to not abandon ourselves, a way to honor ourselves, a way to trust ourselves and believe ourselves to be sacred. If
Mhm.
we are truly about ourself ish, we get to hold space for ourselves first, and in our overflow, give to others.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay, so what encouragement would you give someone who's wrestling with this topic now? Because
Mhm.
we understand there are a lot of spaces and a lot of ways where we are the go-to friend, the fixer, the planner. In our family dynamics, we are the CEO, even though we may not be the mother in the family. We hold so much responsibility, especially if you are a high achieving person in your family. You hold so much responsibility, particularly in the family space, in the family dynamic. Share a little bit about any advice you'd give someone who's wrestling with, well, I got to take care of all these people. I can't, and if I don't care for them, no one will. And so then I'm being selfish.
Yeah. I have in my family, I come from an extraordinary lineage of women who have been truly extraordinary caregivers
Mm,
to their families, church community, leading daycares, creating vacation Bible schools, civic engagement, voter registration drives, all the things. But I'm thinking right now in particular about one of my elders, a great aunt who for years now has taken great care of her husband, my great uncle. And she is now terminally ill because she prioritized his care over her own and did not go to the doctor as often as she needed, knew that something was wrong, but did not go see about it, did not stay up to date with her appointments and to all the things that it takes to really take care of yourself, which we know as an adult is a lot of work. It's really a full-time job to care for yourself. Wish it was easier, but it's not. That's why caregiving is an actual skill and job, right? She did not prioritize herself for the sake of him and others. Did not want to burden anyone else with his care. And so she took it on. And now she's in a place where her time is slowly ticking away. And I share that as a precautionary tale to anyone who's struggling with trying to reorient themselves around this idea of selfishness or being selfish. The word in the dictionary means what it means. Like it's a word, and we could put it there. It is pejorative because there are people who are selfish. But to our conversation and reclaiming self dash ish, like your self stuff that you need to prioritize, you truly will have nothing to give anyone else, even the people you care about the most, if you have not seen about yourself. My great aunt right now is someone who I, I'm visualizing her so vigorously right now because she literally has nothing for anyone. Everyone now is having to care for her. And the person she was so worried about caring for, his care is now actually diminished because people weren't prepared to care for him. So there it's a lot that's wrapped up here where
Yeah,
we often hold too much for too long,
yeah.
thinking we're doing the right thing, giving of ourselves when we've not spread out the work, spread out the support that we need without taking it on for ourselves.
Mm.
So, anyone who's struggling, I hope you hear this story and take it as a precautionary tale. And also just use Jesus as an example. Think back to like in the Bible, there's this parable, the story in, I think it's Mark, maybe 2, I don't remember. It could be 2:31 something, or it could be 4. Just look up Jesus going to sleep on the boat. There was a storm. The disciples were freaking out and like, what's happening right now? And Jesus is literally asleep. Got his head on some little rock or whatever, a makeshift pillow. You think Jesus knew there was a storm? Yes. And still Jesus was asleep. Unaffected, unconcerned. Why? Because Jesus knew I had been healing, fixing, serving people all day. I don't have anything else to give you right now. I mean, I am man in flesh and also God in spirit. So I do. But at the same time, my flesh says I need to rest. So I will honor that and know that when it's time for me to give again, God will help meet my need. My super or God's super with my little natural will mix. And here we go. We'll be all right. And then the disciples came, Jesus, what's up? You left us here. And Jesus was like, wait, you have little faith. And I love how this pastor recently, but shout out to Pastor Trey, was like, it's not that Jesus was like, you don't have faith in me, because obviously they did. That's why they came to him like, hey, you're God, you can do the things, help. But God was also like, you forgot you have faith in yourself. You can do this. You can do this. But also, what if you rested and relaxed in the midst of the storm? Which I think part of the reason why some of us, we take on too much. We're afraid to really honor ourselves and our ish, because we think that when there is an emergency, that it means we need to go into overdrive. And sometimes it means we need to turn it down. So it's a combination of those things that I hope someone who's wrestling with this, I encourage you to do less when you think you need to do more. And then also remember that you need to give from a place of overflow, as you've been saying, versus the very last bit you have.
That's good. That's good. So I'm going to say a hard thing. The thing that I want to bring into the room, because I really need people to hear and understand what Jovian is saying, because her great aunt story is so many of our stories and will continue to be so many of our stories. And the irony is we are so afraid to be called selfish and to be misunderstood as someone who isn't willing to help and be of service and be there for other people. But when we take everything on, it actually is being selfish, because you are not giving other people an opportunity to grow, to step into certain roles, to step into certain places, to build certain muscles. No, they may not be great at it in the beginning, but neither were we. They have to have that learning curve. They have to have that learning opportunity. And so the irony is us trying to do it all, hold it all, and not be called selfish is in a way truly being selfish, because the work can be spread around.
Absolutely. This is what we see with micromanagers oftentimes. I mean, there's also other reasons why people tend to show up that way, but for people who are moving from, I see this a lot with clients who their role may have like scope expanded exponentially. Sometimes they're just way more comfortable in whatever individual contributor or more condensed or finite scope of work they had. And they create a story in their minds that really is about self-protection, not about serving or now managing other people into greatness, but it's self-protection. And so they create this story in their minds that says like, I'm not going to give them that work because they're not ready yet. When in reality, your job now isn't to do the work, it's to coach someone towards the work. It is to support someone's development in the work. So you're actually, I've had to tell people, you're not doing your job. You are a low performer right now on the job that you are now called to do. Sure, still a strong performer in the job before, but now that you're at the SVP level, or that you are now stepping into the C-suite or whatever it is, there's a different purview for you. And so you have to release the things that you've been holding in order to stretch into what's new. I think part of redefining or reclaiming this idea of selfish is also seeing, wait, there is more for me. And maybe I'm afraid of all the things that are coming towards it because I'd have to begin again. But part of this selfish journey is giving yourself grace to grow. And so knowing I'm not going to be as good right away at it. But if I
Mm,
release that idea, all this again, perfection and like wanting to be great right away, whatever, if you release that and let yourself slip up, fall, but learn, I think we also would do a much better job of asking for help, of releasing the things that feel comfortable to us. Like, well, I'm really good at that, so I'm gonna hold on to it. You just want to hold on to it because it feels good to be good at it, not because it's yours to do anymore.
mm,
You're now
mm,
supposed to be doing the next thing. Let go of that. So
mm,
to your point, someone else can pick it up and have their turn at it. That's why you have people in the church, particularly, and I can always talk about this context because that's what I'm so steeped in. You have people who literally have generations of young men, women, and people coming up behind them who could be much better leaders, but have never gotten to lead the flower club, never gotten to lead the young adult ministry because that was your claim to fame and you ain't ready to give it up. But what if it's a new season for you? And it's
mm,
supposed to be their turn to learn and grow.
mm,
Your point, it is selfish. And I don't think it's honoring, I don't think it's honoring the creator. I don't think it's honoring life's natural cycle. We got to evolve in and out of some things, right? Like you
mm.
trying to stay in that shell, you will not be the butterfly. But
Oof.
right? But what we don't talk about is it is actually ugly inside of that chrysalis where the caterpillar is trying to become. That's not easy. It's a mess. So when we talk more about the mess, like which is the point of this conversation, like it's hard to set new boundaries for yourself and with your friends and to let go of responsibilities. That's just hard.
Mm.
But something being hard doesn't negate its necessity.
Right,
It's
right,
still a part of what we have to do.
right. It's hard and it's actually selfish not to. It's selfish not to.
Yeah.
Jovian,
You're being the thing you don't want to be.
you
How
are
about it?
literally being the thing you don't want to be.
Yeah.
So don't. Choose yourself by choosing yourself. Choose yourself by choosing to do the harder thing. You did that level of hard thing you were on. Look how well you've succeeded at it. And at one point you didn't know how to do that. This next level, oh baby, it's so much better.
Ooh.
It's so
Ooh.
much calmer. It's so much easier. It's so much more abundant, but it requires you to choose yourself and both set boundaries for others and release old identities you have for yourself.
Mm.
All of that means choosing you.
Mm-hmm.
And so today we have talked about how selfish actually isn't a sin. Choosing self isn't a sin. You deserve to choose you. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve to focus on and return to yourself. You get to be about yourself ish. And so this week, I invite everyone to do one thing, just one thing, where you don't betray yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you choose yourself, even if you do it afraid. Jovian, thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your care. Thank you for the inside jokes and the kikis. You are truly beautiful.
I don't have the words to fully describe how wonderful this space has been. Thank you. Thank you for your words, the community you've created, the light and honesty you reflect in this world, the fierceness. And when I say fierceness, I don't mean it as a way that doesn't hold also softness and romance and grace.
Mm.
It's the fierceness that comes with clarity and with like a deep commitment to be sharp and you know what's yours. And you do that. And it's exciting, it's inviting, it's convicting, it's warm, and it's really loving. And I'm really grateful that at this season of my life to have developed a relationship with you. So thank you.
Ah, I received that. I received that. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to sit with that. Thank you. For everyone listening, thank you again for joining us for Put Your Bag Down. As always, take what you need, leave what doesn't serve you. And until next time, drink water, take naps, and do something just for you. Bye for now.